Imagine walking through a dense prehistoric forest, mist clinging to your skin, the only sound being the crunch of twigs beneath your bare feet. Suddenly, you spot him, but something feels wrong. His eyes are too aware, his movements too precise. He's not like the others, he's not like us, and he's been watching you the whole time. The scariest part, this isn't fiction. This is a real species of ancient human that once walked the earth. And what we've uncovered about them is downright chilling. Imagine waking up with no walls, no roof, and no certainty you'll survive the day. For early humans like Homo heidelbergensis, this was normal life. Every morning began with a simple but terrifying goal: don't die. There were no supermarkets, no medicine, and definitely no cozy beds. Just raw nature, teeming with predators and danger. These people weren't like us. They were built tougher, both mentally and physically. Their bodies were rugged, with powerful jaws, thick bones, and broad chests, designed to endure cold climates and constant movement. Think of them as the SUVs of human evolution, built to last and crash through whatever nature threw at them. But even then, survival wasn't guaranteed. The wild wasn't some exotic background. It was the battlefield. Lions weren't in cages, they were watching. Disease wasn't treated. It was either survived or it killed. And food, that meant risking your life just to chase it down with sticks and stones. And yet they thrived, somehow. So how did Homo heidelbergensis survive all that chaos? One word: adaptation. They weren't just brutes with big bones, they were thinkers. For the first time in human evolution, we see signs of advanced hunting strategies. These weren't solo fighters running wild through the forest. They worked in groups, coordinated, patient, and deadly. Picture this: a small hunting party creeping silently through the underbrush. One distracts the prey, the others ambush from the sides. They used wooden spears, real weapons, sharpened and balanced, and some were over 6 feet long. That means they understood balance, leverage, and distance, skills that required real thought. But here's the chilling part: some archaeologists believe they preyed on other humans too. Not just scavengers, hunters. There's evidence suggesting organized attacks, even cannibalism, not out of savagery, but pure survival. In a world with scarce food, you weren't just watching for predators. You were the predator. And in that unforgiving world, the line between human and beast was terrifyingly thin. Buried deep in ancient caves across Europe and Africa, scientists have uncovered the silent screams of the past: bones. But not just bones, fractured skulls, healed injuries, and tool marks that whisper stories of violence, resilience, and survival. Some skulls of Homo heidelbergensis show healed fractures, meaning they didn't just fight, they lived long enough to recover. That suggests community, care, protection. When one fell, others helped them rise. It's one of the first times we see this human spark, the bond that says we take care of our own, and yet some other remains tell darker tales. In a Spanish cave called Cima de los Huesos, the Pit of Bones, over 7,000 human bones were discovered. Many had signs of trauma, and yet no predator bones were found nearby. Were these ritual burials, murders, accidents, or something more chilling? Every broken rib, every cracked skull is a puzzle piece, and Homo heidelbergensis left behind thousands. They weren't quite like us, but they weren't fully other either. They stood on the razor's edge, part beast, part ancestor, and the bones are the only witnesses to their mysterious, brutal lives. Imagine standing in total darkness, no electricity, no lamps, just endless black when the sun dips below the trees. Now imagine someone 400,000 years ago striking two stones together and creating fire. That one spark didn't just light up the forest, it changed the entire course of human history. Homo heidelbergensis, more than any species before them, mastered fire. Not just stumbled upon it, controlled it. There's evidence from places like Gesher Benot Yaakov in Israel, showing clusters of burnt wood, charred seeds, and even cooked animal bones, neatly arranged around what could be ancient hearths. This was not an accident. Fire meant warmth in the frozen night. Fire meant protection from predators, lions, wolves, cave bears, and most importantly, fire meant cooked food, softer, safer, more nutritious. Suddenly, brains could grow bigger because food energy could go to the mind, not just the gut. The belly shrank, the skull expanded, and around those flames came something else: stories, whispers, maybe even the first sparks of language. Think about it, a group of rugged early humans huddled by a glowing fire, meat roasting on sticks, shadows dancing on cave walls, and one of them begins to gesture, to mimic, maybe to warn of a hunt, or recall a storm, or mourn the dead. From that fire came civilization's pilot light, and once it was lit, it would never go out. We often think of evolution as slow, bones changing, brains growing over millions of years. But fire sped things up. Before fire, our ancestors had to chew raw meat for hours. Their jaws were huge, their teeth stronger. But cooked food, it broke down easily. It meant less time chewing, more time thinking. And what happens when you suddenly have extra hours in your day? You start to invent, to explore, to plan. That's the power of fire. Archaeologists found ancient fire pits in Europe, Asia, and Africa, some over 300,000 years old. These weren't random scorches. These were deliberate, reused sites. Humans were gathering, not just surviving. And what happens when people gather? They communicate, they cooperate, they create culture. Fire didn't just feed the body, it fed the tribe. It pulled people into circles, into community. And those communities, they began to dream. Maybe the fire gave them the confidence to leave the forest and face the dark. Maybe it inspired the first myths, gods of lightning, spirits of flame. Maybe fire made us believe that we were more than animals. Because here's the truth, every major leap we've ever made, from the wheel to the rocket, started around a fire. Fire taught us control. It taught us power. It taught us we could change the world. And once we lit that first flame, nothing could extinguish what we'd become. Not every part of the caveman world was about survival or community. Some parts were brutal. Let's rewind to around 10,000 years ago at a place now called Jebel Sahaba near the Nile River. Archaeologists uncovered something shocking: a mass grave filled with men, women, and even children. Many of the skeletons had arrowheads still embedded in their bones. Some had skull fractures, deep cuts. These weren't random accidents. This was war, and it might be the first known evidence of organized human violence. But why would hunter-gatherers, people who relied on each other, who shared food, suddenly turn violent? One word: resources. As the Ice Age ended, some areas dried up. Water became scarce. Game animals disappeared. And when survival is on the line, humans fight. This wasn't war with swords or armies. It was raw, primal, chaotic. Picture two small tribes facing each other at dawn, silent tension, a flurry of spears, and then blood on the sand. That's the truth of early humanity. We built fire, we built tools, but we also built conflict. This chapter of our past reminds us, we didn't just learn to survive nature, we learned to survive each other. Welcome to the real caveman life. We've romanticized the Paleolithic era, cave paintings, warm fires, hunting under the stars. But the truth? It was brutal, merciless, and unforgiving. You wake up hungry, you search for food all day. You might not find any. A predator could be tracking you. Or worse, another tribe. Your tools are primitive, your shelter is temporary. Injuries mean death. Childbirth means risking 2 lives. Fire is sacred, and losing it could mean freezing in the night. There's no rest, no safety net, no medicine, no police, no peace. And as we saw in Jebel Sahaba, even your own kind could become the enemy. So let's be real, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in a caveman's world. But you don't have to, because those people, the ones who did survive, they're your ancestors. Their strength runs through your veins, their resilience shaped the world, and their struggles gave birth to everything we now call civilization. If you found this story mind-blowing, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real human history that schools never told you.